Aiana is essentially an Indian hospitality brand that's based out of the Middle East. So what we're really trying to do is create something that works for both regions. We believe that there's significant inflows of tourists from India across. You look at any of our top airports, you've got 25 flights a day to the Middle East, this morning we heard from STR about how the number of Indians coming into Dubai alone is going to cross the 1 million mark. And so in terms of timings, we think that we're in the right place. The company is based out of Doha, Qatar, so our first project is a hotel apartment that's based in the West Bay, which is the diplomatic area of the city. So we're neatly positioned between all the ministries and the diplomatic council. So it's a 180 key service apartment project. We've got a few unique pieces that make us different. For example, because we're an Indian hospitality brand, we've got a modern Indian spa concept that we're introducing. We've got a Indian restaurant, which is unique in terms of the way we're doing authentic cuisine, but presented differently. So while we've got a very strong Indian service ethos that becomes the underlying factor there, the presentation and the way our service elements are carried out are very, very modern. We're aiming to do what we're calling hospitality 2.0, and having one foot in India allows us on the technology front also to be developing customized apps and those kinds of things and even from a CRM perspective, looking at doing things a little bit differently. Essentially what we're looking to do is create an environment that's a lot more engaging and warm when it comes to service, very intuitive, and at the same time creating hotels that are not at all cookie cutter. So while we've got a hotel apartment in Doha, it's got a sense of place, and we're doing a 33 villa project in a plantation in India, which is completely different. So very, very local when it comes to design, but with the Indian service ethos as an underlying factor. The first project, the flagship project, is actually a hotel apartment, so that would be the first. But we would see ourselves extending that brand, so Aiana Suites and Residences, fairly easily across the GCC. We started, because it was a new brand, we wanted to be, to create products that were on brand to begin with. So a lot of it has been built to spec. And that's what's taken time. So all our projects currently are greenfield, and we're building from ground up. But going forward, and I see this both in more mature markets like Dubai, but also in the key metros in India. When we move from greenfield to brownfield, we'll be looking at conversions and flagging existing properties under the Aiana Residences flag, and I think that's something that we would do in phase 2, and it would be very relevant to the UAE in particular, where you do have product that's been built to a certain brand standard and could fit very well. I think from an owner's perspective, it's almost like it's a hedge that you take. What we're very confident about is standalone service apartments. I'm not quite sure whether we do too many mixed use, only because the model is very different there. So far, the numbers that work for us, you're looking at higher GOPs, for instance, more steady occupancy. So in cities where there's a lot of volatility and seasonality, that plays a greater role, and you've got a more stable business model in that sense. So I think it's very market specific. In Qatar, for example, it's a very small proportion of the total number of rooms that are coming online, and we're the first Indian brand to enter the market. So I think there's enough sort of differentiating factors to help us, launch fairly easily. In the UAE, you're looking at a far larger number. I think almost a quarter of the inventory, total room inventory, is service department, so far more competitive in terms of a space. But I think the numbers need to work, and that's so it does end up becoming very property specific. Well, it's the first time we've participated. What I like about it is that it's very focused in terms of, and it's a great mix of brands and owners, and so we're very happy to be here. One of the things that differentiates us as a management company is that both the founders come from owning backgrounds, and so for myself personally as well, my family owns service apartments in India that used to be branded, and we've deflagged, and we own and operate now. So it's interesting to see how the more mature markets do it. For me, from a personal perspective, the Middle East that is far more mature. In India, the tendency is for you to cater to a very local micro market in that sense, and it's a smaller playing ground, and also you've got a lot of unbranded product, which necessarily doesn't come to the market very easily because you don't have that much of an online presence, as opposed to here where you're talking about almost 70% of the inventory being available online. The difference also, I suppose, to me, which makes it very interesting, Doha, for example, is completely corporate led. So some of the discussions we're having here about Airbnb and the impact it has, you've got a very strong corporate base which has very deep penetration in terms of wanting to have branded product, and I think so time will tell whether there is a true risk. But I think what you're looking at from a trend perspective is this shift from not just you're not just looking at just long stays, but also people who are there for shorter term projects and assignments, and that seems to be sort of the flavor of the hour, particularly in Doha where we're operating. So that shift from business travel to more assignment based type of travel, makes, so there's I think there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment, and it's interesting to be here at a summit like this where you get a sense of what the other markets are at as well.